forget. And remember that the question is not making that child do to the child, organize any other thing that is catch up with the age at which he is. There are minor things that the child can learn very quickly if you help him. Doesn't matter how badly injured he is. You teach him only that and nothing else. And therefore you avoid, first of all, the kind of thing that the surgeons do to children like that they frighten life out of them. Take a child like that, it takes me about a week, 10 lessons before the child has confidence in me that I'm not going to give him the kind of treatment he has got in the hospital, where they have no time. They took the baby, put him there, take him away from his mother, put him there, anesthetize him, or put him in a crowd with strange people around him. He's a number, put him on the table, and do it to what? That's a trauma for life. And you bring a baby like that to me, and you find that he's afraid of leaving his mother. He doesn't dare. You have to sit there, don't touch him. I never actually address the parents. When they bring a baby, ask the baby, hello, how are you? And then, can you understand? And then they tell, is this your mother? I asked her, and the child is astonished as the kind of surprise of her life. It's the first time in her life that somebody asked her whether that's her mother. Because before I say, the mother tells me that the child has minimal brain damage, that's an idiot, that's worth nothing, and that she has been doing everything, and she has been everywhere else, and they always told you it's minimal brain damage. And the child you think is an idiot, cleverer than the mother and the father. And I can show you, yesterday I had it. That little child I'll talk to you, who can do everything but the parents hold her and save her from making that tremendous effort, giving up the luxury of being held and being cuddled and having to do nothing, so that the walking in that is absolutely abhorrent to her, though she can do it. She wouldn't do it because she knows she is intelligent enough. She knows that if she goes to get the bottle, the father won't give it to her. Yeah? Now, believe it or not, so I left the baby there and explained to the father that you will do, she is now 2 years old, the whole intelligence, 2 years old. And you know what I explained to the father? Why he should behave differently with the child. And I told him, look, find a place in the house which is about the height of the children. Meaning, look, here we have it there. In the place where we worked, there are steps, and that's that. I told him, look, and see. It's awkward, you wouldn't see. And I told him, you let the child, put the child standing as she can stand, and she's free to stand. Put the stand and put her hands on the table at her own height so that it's comfortable for her. And then, look, you will do that. You will move a hand to the left. Then she will find that when she does that, that this leg, look, she will stand on that leg, therefore she will bring that leg here and move the hand there. It's a long job, but you will do that. And then you will move that hand again. Then by moving that hand, you see, you bring her to stand on that leg. Therefore, this is free, which she will by herself move. Then when you do that, see, in that hand move there. This time, look, I'm already standing on this leg. This one will move, and therefore you will find, which is very complex. There's a moment where you have to move also this hand and the foot. You have to learn that. It's not very difficult, but you can do it. So I explained the father how to do that, and showed him at the table how to do. And the backward, the minimal damage that couldn't breathe when lying on her stomach, she listened, and I tell them, you think that she doesn't understand? She understood better than you and I. She heard every word of it. And of course, believe it or not, we have it on the videotape. You can see it. The baby went, and there was a bottle was at the end, and there's a step. You know, in the room where I work, there's steps like that. Big steps, which are two. Like the child put her hands there and did, with that skill, put her hand there, moved that, took that there, and went about 6 feet, 8 feet, and the corner is a sharp corner. There she stopped, didn't know what to do, and then she managed to change the hands and go away and move over, went and got the bottle, and went back and using the hand with the bottle, doing the same thing in the other direction, and put it in a bag that the father had. And then there was a tin of apple juice that I poured before, and I made her, you see, which is idiotic. How could I make her do anything? She did. She said yes and no, because I never gave her anything before she said yes. I said, you want to drink? You want a bottle? And I say yes, and make myself nod with the head at that if she can't say it. And believe it or not, she said yes. And then when I asked her something else, she said no. Yeah, and she took the bottle, put it there, and I asked her, do you want, there was the tin with apple juice in which we poured in our bottle, I said, do you want that too? She said yes. So she put it in the bag. And then I said, would you the piece of tin, do you want it? She said yes, and she took it. In fact, she behaved better and more intelligently, more efficiently than her father, who is an intelligent architect. Yeah? And the child, by me explaining the father how to do it, she went and did it better than anybody else could do it. So you can see that one means catching up with her age. But if I did with her any other idiotic thing, she would remain an idiot with underdeveloped, with minimal damage. As she is now, I have to teach the father and the mother how not to interfere with that child, to be able to, actually, she will do that. Now that she has got that, means she won't let them touch her. Like before, she tries, daddy, daddy, anything. If you put her alone, she's daddy, daddy. Now I said, oh, you can cry until you're dead. If you want daddy, go and fetch him. Go and get your daddy. So she crawled with great pleasure and with velocity that you wouldn't believe. And then she did this sort of thing, which she flabbergasted me. I didn't expect her to be, actually to have caught up more than her age. Other children at her age would be unable to understand what I explained the father how to move. She got it while I was explaining the father and went and did it herself. And therefore, you see, it's minimal brain damage. But of course, if you want her to read now, if you try to teach her to read or do anything like that, you'll be in a failing, lamentably. In other words, that if you think what an intelligent quotient means, and you do, the earlier you do bring the child to do those things, nothing else afterwards, just like you don't know how this 1 day old child shows afterwards difficulties. And if you can make him catch up here to be like in that first day, then obviously you've got a child 2 months old who has no difficulties. Then you have to wait, maybe in the third month he will show difficulties. Then on that way, you get every minor derogation from normal. Tell me, how does your brain develop? How clever were we when we were at that age? How did you know that we are going to be as clever as we are or as idiotic as we are? And if you examine yourself very properly, you will find that you have already done worse than that child, because that child we examined on all functions possible. But if I imagine your or my development, then you find that, look, can you do anything in mathematics? Are you a musician? Can you sing? Can you paint? So you have also a selective minimal damage. All you can do is fuck about trance or something else. Eh? Or you're a physiotherapist, or you're an accountant or a lawyer. And what about the other functions? If I examined you on the generality of functions, every one of us, you can show that we all have minimal brain damage. And what we're trying to do here, and that's why you're so interested, and that's why I ask people, how do I manage to gather such audiences for learning? You know why? Because I'm corrected that minimal brain damage that was left over. And everybody feels that actually I'm growing by doing that. I can swim better, I can do this better, I can do that better. I have letters from here, people showing me that they're functional, that they're sex life, they're middle-aged people and married people, and they have nothing, no trouble with their sex, but that has improved. Just like the girl who swam yesterday, and that has improved. And the skaters, and we're only at 10 days now here, if not. So this sort of thing, I will repeat you until you forget it. That means you can't remember it, but do it. And I'm sure that some of the people, the best people I have, when they have that clear in the head, and some of them actually have been doing that without knowing, but sometimes they are in doubt and say, how will that, can we really bring that child to normality? I've heard that question asked only the last few days with a child difficult, and then next day, I'm proud of what I did. And the child actually develops and does things that was impossible to think that she could do before. She has one hand and can't move it at all, or couldn't. And now when she does the kind of play that is done with her, she doesn't know even that the head was wrong. He does it so nicely that it's a pleasure to see. Now, if she catches up with her own age, their development will be, she's 2 years old. And it was started before they did a kind of gymnastics and physiotherapy or something, what you call occupational therapy. The child was unable to do anything. So they twist their leg and twist it and think if they do that the minimal damage will disappear. Yeah? If you make the hands, and of course the child can't do it. And once you pull the hand that cannot work, it's just painful, so you can't do it. So you do the other hand and the other leg and leave that. And what do you hope? Who will do it? If you don't think constructively, if your thinking doesn't lead to action, and clear action, and effective one, it works with everyone. We have now videotapes of about 180 cases like that. Small and big and grown up and people with the legs like that who have dystonia muscularis deformant. And intelligent people, and it's a pity to see. You will see, you can go, when we get functional integration, we will show you some of the pictures we took there. You will sit there, you will know whether to believe your eyes or not. And surely, I have no special relations with God, not with Jehovah and not with Jesus. I have no healing power whatsoever, except that my touch is more healing than anybody else's. because it's a human kind touch without pity, with just real equality with the child. I never talk to a child as if it were a baby. Yesterday, we had a girl brought there, and her mother or somebody talked to the girl is 10 years old. Yeah? And I asked the mother, why you talk down to your child? What do you mean? You talk to her as if she's an idiot she doesn't understand. In other words, you maintain her in an idiotic state. Not if she understands, you will stop being talk to Can't you talk to her like to somebody else? She's already 10 years old. It's a human being. Why are you talking to her like that? In fact, in your mind, you think she's minimal brain damage, she won't understand. And therefore that, you talk to her when she was a year old and you keep on maintaining her in the same state. Doesn't matter what she learns to do, she will never do anything but to please you because she depends on you for her salary, for her affection. Affection for her is like you to your salary in the bank or whatever, wherever you earn your money. Suppose the boss told you the same sort of thing. I pay you, actually I don't need you, I don't want you, but I have pity with you, so I pay you. And then you will see what sort of work you produce if the boss talked to you like that. Now, that's the kind of attitude that the child... You can see children are more intelligent than we are. We were more intelligent when we were small than we are now. All we have learned is some sort of social improvement, getting ourselves a cozy place among other people who push and can't get it. That's all. But we have left off our intelligence before we were 3 years old. If I tell you how clever little children are, like the one I told you yesterday, you will see in a few days when we started, we will show you how that child, I talked to the father with my back turned to her, and I made her cry before because I told her, you will die here, cry as much as you like. If you want your father, go and take him. Get your father. And she got him. But she cried. She didn't want. She knew she was losing her job. And a little girl, age 2, maybe 2.5, the mother was pregnant again and had a baby. And of course the psychologists around came and told the mother, you have to tell the child that if she will have a little brother or a little sister, and when the child, and that she will teach the child and she will cuddle it and she will have a brother or a sister, and it will be so marvelous. And the child listened and understood that it's obviously going to be very marvelous. Then the child was born, the baby. And of course the baby born the first few days, the father and the mother were so busy with that little baby that the girl was left at the table sometimes just while eating because the baby cried, ran to see what happens there. And in a few days, the little girl found that what they told her about the little brother was not such a fine thing. Anyway, they went, sat at the table, and found something terrible happens. Suddenly, the baby, the newborn baby, cries as if a rat at his throat. So they ran there, nothing. And the baby stops crying. Then they go back. 5 minutes later, the baby cries again, hell. So they run there, again, nothing. Then they noticed that when the baby begins to cry, that the little girl disappears for a second and she's back at the table. And then they began to look, the little child had blues all over his body. She pinched it, she beat it, she did everything she could to that little brother of hers. And of course he cried help. And she did it and ran away and went to the table again. When they found that out, and of course they asked the psychologist, what do we do that? And the psychologist said, you have to be kind to her and talk to her and explain to her. And they did. They explained and talked. But what the psychologist and the mother and the father understood, the little girl understood much better. Then they asked her, tell me, you promised that if you have a little brother, you will be kind to him, you will nurse him, and you will teach him. And he said, yes, I didn't know what I was saying. Now, what do you think of that intelligence? She will be a better psychologist than her mother and the psychologist whom she consulted. She just didn't know what she said. This is profound intelligence that people kill with their way of behavior. And that's why we grow up idiots. We grow up unable to think constructively. And you should examine, I do that all the time, and I can tell you I suffered hell. Because I had to stop myself from anything I said and decide it and say, what did I say? What did I mean by what I say? Do I really know what I said? Does it lead to any alteration in my environment that I can produce? If I can't do that, what have I been thinking? Just mourning, just pitying myself? Just maintaining myself in that same self-state in which I am, which is, to me, something which I lack. It makes me feel awful. And I found that, you see, there isn't a word that I use that I haven't thought it from 10 different sides until I really knew what I mean. Well, really knew. I can tell you I knew better than before. And as I told you, the question is not being good, not being God knows what, but feel that you're growing daily, that your ability to think, to organize, to act gets better from every time you do something. That's a God-sent benediction. Had I had that, had I reached that state when I was your age or your age, I don't know where I would be now, probably levitating to there and competing with God to sit on his chair. I don't know whether it would be much better than now, but that's what it would be. Now, with this thing said, what do we do with grown-up people who have to catch up with their growth, which they left off, several bits of it, unfinished, improperly organized? And as you can see, our organization is selective. In other words, we have brain damage, absolute, not minimal, on many functions in ourselves. Many functions in ourselves have no minimal brain damage, but actually final brain damage, because we have thrown it away, we never use it at all. As if we were just what the child doesn't do when it can't crawl. Feels the same way. So, now we cannot catch up everything on all the things we did. But we can start with that kind of thing which is absolutely general, and that is total alienation to our internal needs, to our comfort. We have given that up at the age of 3, by the age of 3. Not because, not all of us gave up. Some have, some bits are good and some are not. But on the whole, the emotional and sensory development is very, very poor compared with the other things. Oh, I used to do that very nicely. I could do pointillé comme ça. Oh, I will do it later. Yeah. So comes one thing. We find then that the whole thing is actually connected with learning. What we did is how can we make a baby catch up with his own age? And you can see the earlier you start and the more methodical you are about it, then you develop that brain to function like any other brain functions. Some bits of it will never be there if there is real brain damage. But actually now when you decide the brain damage, what do? You examine the alpha, beta waves by doing that and scan this and scan that. The proof that the damage is done where and how is anybody's guess. All you can see that functionally, in fact, you don't do that scanning and you don't do the thing unless the function is already disorganized. So if you see the function there, why the other thing is interesting, important to understand what can be seen, what sort of damage. But for that you have to open the head and make it as a guinea pig and have a look. Then nobody wants to do that. So first you know already that there's minimal brain damage. Then you go to the doctor, he examines the child for God knows how long, makes a torture, and then he tells you the child has minimal brain damage. You went there because you felt that. Then he tells you. Now you're sure. So you tell the children now, your minimal brain damage, you'll never be any good. And in the house everybody talks about, and as you can see, a child hears and understands much better than the parents, because the child understands their tone. They understand the way they said it. If she doesn't understand the words, but you'll find later that she understands even the words. That being so, learning, then what do we mean by learning? You did something yesterday, you learned something. And I was insisting that it should be done in one peculiar way. You will find that real learning does not mean anything else but the thing you learn. Some of you could do it yesterday. That's not good enough. If you can't do that thing in at least 4 different ways, 3, 5 if you can, you don't know it. And before that, you cannot be allowed to use your own handwriting. Means doing it your own way. Because grown up as you are, you still behave like minimal brain damage. Therefore, you must catch up with your age. All right, would you please now see how far, what you remember from yesterday? You remember what we did? We rolled in a funny sort of way. Lie a minute, think through how you got there, and without any more to do. You remember, no, not the hand, we did the last thing, the rolling. Just do that. You will find actually that many of you will be surprised that they do it much better than yesterday.